All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We're talking about the Detroit Lions in tonight's video. The rookies reported today, the vets will be there tomorrow. And before you know it, one of the best teams in the National Football League will be kicking it off. Folks, the Lions are not a one-hit wonder. I was reading an article where they were asking the question, were the Lions a one-hit wonder? Are they legitimate Super Bowl contenders? I think it's obvious that they're legitimate Super Bowl contenders. This Lions season is huge. I'm a Packers fan, as you guys know here, and unfortunately, San Francisco took us both down, and I don't want a Lions 49ers rivalry, or if it is going to be a rivalry, I'd like the Lions to be on the winning end. I think their defensive improvements are completely game-changing, and that's what we're going to talk about in tonight's video. But folks, I had this random flashback when I was preparing to make this video today. I get that Josh Reynolds in the Lions 49ers conference championship game. I get that Josh Reynolds had a couple of drops, and those were like the defining factors of that football game. I hate that was the case because the offense is so consistent. It's so reliable. It's been top 5 the last 2 seasons. So I'm so glad they made moves defensively, because the Lions defense was really young last season, extremely young. And you've got guys like, obviously Aiden Hutchinson's just a freaking beast. Then you drafted cats like Brian Branch and Jack Campbell, and there's just littered with like year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4 football players, especially on the secondary, and especially now, despite the Carlton Davis trade. But the entire second half, when that kind of collapse was beginning or happening, I was just thinking to myself, like, make a play. Somebody on the defense, please make a freaking play. And that was what they primarily focused on in this past offseason. And it's a huge reason why, even as a Green Bay Packers fan, I cannot wait for the Detroit Lions regular season and postseason. But before we get any further into today's video, if you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button. Lions fans, you're seriously the freaking best. I love most fan bases in the NFL. I love football in general. It's the off season and it's just really bad. And in our Lions video from a couple of days ago, I was like, hands on knees begging you guys for likes, and you guys came through and you gave me my first like 10K viewed video in like 6 weeks. So thank you guys so much. If you try and get this video to 250 likes, I'll greatly appreciate it. But we're going to be covering the Lions as always, like we have the last couple of seasons. So the Lions actually have the 3rd best chance to reach the Super Bowl. They have 17.6% chance to make the Super Bowl per ESPN analytics. The kicker is this: Detroit, and I can't believe this is a true statistic. Like, you have the chance to technically break history here, although it's not a great stat. The Lions have never won 10 plus games in consecutive seasons. I'll say it again, because it's actually shocking. It's shocking. Like, if your mouth's hanging open, close it up real quick. I'll say it one more time. The Detroit Lions have never won 10 plus games in consecutive seasons. How's that a stat? How does that statistic exist? All right. So in 2011, the Detroit Lions put together a 10-win season. I remember this very vividly. I remember watching it. But then they followed it up with a 4-12 record. In 2014, the Detroit Lions won 11 games. And I remember that very vividly because that was the year my dad gifted me with a PS4. Thank you, Dad. And then they won 7-9. So based on history, it's not looking good. But then when you remind yourself, if we compare this year's Detroit Lions or last year's Detroit Lions to 2014, 2015, and 2011 and 2012, it's like night and day. Like, it's seriously not even close. One big move the Detroit Lions did was keeping both Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. Huge freaking moves. So now we need to focus on the defensive side of things because, there are going to be camp battles that we're keeping an eye on, particularly wide receiver 3, which is what we talked about in our last Detroit Lions video a couple of days ago. So check that out. But the cornerback battle is going to be really interesting because you drafted a couple of them and you traded for one in Carlton Davis. Now, the Detroit Lions allowed 34 completions thrown at least 20 yards downfield last year. That tied with the Houston Texans for the 2nd most in the league. Once again, crazy statistic. That was behind the Bengals with 35, so just one extra completion thrown over 20 yards downfield. The Lions also allowed 28 passing touchdowns. That was 6th worst in the NFL. So what did they do? They drafted Terrion Arnold in the first round, freaking stud out of Alabama, slotted in as your day one starter at the cornerback position. You also drafted Ennis Rakestraw Jr. in the second round. You also picked up in free agency Amik Robertson. I cover the Raiders on a separate channel. The day Davante Adams got traded, I created a Raiders channel. Still a diehard Packers fan, don't worry. Not that anyone's concerned, but they traded for Carlton Davis. You also re-signed Emmanuel Mosley, who played, what was it, like 4 snaps last year before the unfortunate season-ending injury. There is so much competition in the cornerback room right now that it's just going to breed excellence. Carlton Davis and Terrion Arnold next year, it's going to be awesome. Terrion Arnold, and it's not because it's the same college, but it reminds me very much of Brian Branch, where I guarantee you Terrion Arnold, I don't know if he's going to be the best cornerback in the draft because that's a very hot, bold take before we've even seen any of him play. But I wouldn't be shocked if Terrion Arnold was Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, this guy's a game changer. He's a playmaker. He's everything you want in a cornerback in the first round, especially. And once again, I allude back to, I was listening to this in the second half because I thought the Detroit Lions were about to make the Super Bowl. I literally was at my buddy's house, my buddy Ryan's house. We were watching the freaking conference championship game. And in the second half, I raced home because I'm thinking the Detroit Lions are about to win the freaking Super Bowl. And I'm listening to this goddamn game on the radio and I'm hearing it happen. And then I get home for the final half of the final half of the third quarter and the fourth quarter. And I'm just sitting here biting my fingernails. And yeah, that Josh Reynolds dropped a couple of passes. But I'm just thinking defensively, guys, let's make a freaking play here. Let's make a play. So when I heard Aiden Hutchinson, edge rusher, future superstar, already star, he said the goal for this season isn't to win 2 more games in 2023. It's to restore the roar in the long term, to lift the Lions to heights the franchise hasn't seen in the 1950s. The Detroit Lions are clearly going to win 10 games this upcoming season, unless never mind. I don't even want to say it out loud. The Detroit Lions are one of the best teams, not only in the NFC, stupid San Francisco, they're one of the best teams in the NFL. And as we enter training camp tomorrow, I want to reiterate what I keep saying when I'm talking or covering the Detroit Lions. The only thing I don't care about cornerback 2. I don't care about cornerback 3. I don't care who the opposing edge rusher is. I don't care who wide receiver 3 is. Like, obviously, I do care about all this stuff. All I care about is the Detroit Lions remained relatively healthy, specifically star players. But I would love the whole roster to be healthy throughout training camp and preseason. But if you were to ask me, what are you focused on during the Lions training camp? I'd literally say health. That's the only thing stopping the Detroit freaking Lions from making the Super Bowl and breaking history by winning 10 games for the second straight season. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. And you best freaking believe when the Detroit Lions start training camp, we're going to be covering them freaking daily. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.